It's very, very quiet out there. Couple days range bound. What's going to shake us up? No big numbers until next week with the inflation data. Midcap earnings all over the place. Things were going okay until ARM. Not a great report, not great guidance. We'll discuss this with Marc Chaikin at 8:15 a.m. It's Thursday, Synthetic Friday for AB. Let's get things started on Pre-Market Prep.
Welcome to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
All right, good morning, traders and investors. Starting out in the red again, but will we rally out of this hole down 9 3/4 handles 52.03? Buck up about 20 cents, 105.62. That's on a 4-day move higher. TLT just in the red slightly, 22 cents, 89.88. Crude working its way back towards 80, up 60 cents at 79.61. Gold flat, 23.23. Silver up 35 cents at 27.95, and Bitcoin in a retreat, down $1,080. Let's bring in Triple D on this Thursday. Triple D, mid caps. How you handling those mid cap earnings?
There's a lot of them, and I'm on the wrong side of a few of them here today. I was in the gambling mood last night. I came in late. I had a doctor's appointment early, came in late, and I'm like, well, this stock's getting bid up. It's reporting tomorrow. It's giving me a nice lead, and this stock's offer down. It's getting me a nice lead, and you know what? All those nice leads weren't that nice.
Wait,
when you're in a gambling mood, sometimes
it was
you
bid
sometimes
up.
you get hit.
I thought it was bid up.
Yeah, Yeti was bid up, so I'm not going to be buying it up. So I fade moves, So okay. So sometimes I gamble after hours, not on huge size. You're not like loading up. I'm going all in on short Yeti, but it was up $1 last night, so they're giving me $1 lead. So I'm like, well, they might know something, they might not know something, but the dollar leads, nice. For example, two stocks were bid up: FOUR and YETI. Both stocks bid up last night. So I'm like, I'll take a flyer, short a little bit of both those. And I was doing more than just those two, but one works in your favor. FOUR, down $5, doing pretty well. The other one, and I put about the same dollars in each, not so much. Yeti ripping higher here. So, I mean, sometimes it works out. Sometimes, these people know something and it doesn't work out. Sometimes it's just they're gambling and it works out for them. It's a coin flip a little bit.
Besides your normal position size, this is like way
half to a quarter.
Yeah,
half to a quarter.
Yeah.
So I'm not nothing. Not like 2% of my normal position size. I go like half a position size sometimes. If they're giving me a nice lead, like let's say stocks expected moves like 7%, and it's bid up 5% ahead of the report, I feel like they're giving me such an edge that I would take a full size position on that. Because one, the options traders are thinking it's only going to move 7%. They're already bidding up 5. So if you're thinking it's, going to move 7, well, it can move 7 down and you can pick up 12, from that 5, percent short that you're putting on. So, it's a different strategy that I use. Sometimes it works. I think overall I make money with it, but it creates a very volatile P&L because when you're taking stocks intentionally through earnings, you ask for trouble sometimes. Sometimes you come in and you're like, I've done this before. And it's like I did like 5 earnings stocks and I'm 5 for 5 and they're all just working for me. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And then other days I've come in and you're like 0 for 5 and they're all working against you. Today, I only did 3 last night. I did Yeti. And it's again, a little bit, bring AB into this conversation. Just a little bit of boredom last night. It was quiet, Joel, like you started the show. It's very, very quiet. It was very, very quiet last night. So you're bored. So you're like, take a shot over here. Oh, I'll do this, So that's what market is taking shots. So, so I'm getting hit on the Yeti. I've already covered the FOUR. I'm getting hit on the other one I had was Hyatt. I've sold most of that out too. So I got 1 for 3 and I'm getting hit pretty good mostly because of the Yeti. Yeah, when a stock goes up 13%, I don't know what the expected move was, but you get dinged on.
Are you going to be able to dig out, or is it one of these days where you're?
I'm not really that much in a hole. I'm overall, I think I'm about flat actually, so it's not too bad because I got some other stuff that's helping out. But It's not one of those like, ooh, this is going to be an awesome day. And I knew, I knew when it's going to be a bad day when the Oilers blew a 4-1 lead last night against Vancouver, and Draisaitl gets hurt, and they lose 5-4. And I knew those 3 earning stocks were going to ding me the next day, because that's just how stuff works. Doesn't it work like that? It just, AB, doesn't it just work like that? When it starts to get, it's one thing goes against you, it seems like everything goes against you. Isn't it that way?
Yeah,
or is that just called selective perception?
No, when you're playing these, earnings things, like you said, you're basically gambling, and
Sure.
then you throw the sports loss in there, the bad beat, and all of a sudden your luck is just feeling like a little bit less than where you would like it to be going into the morning, and then that happens to me quite often, I would say. But how bad is Draisaitl's injury? Do you think, is he going to miss the rest of the series?
Hard, man. So, anyways, it's back for sure, because you could read his lips, like he came on second period, and then he's like, "It's my back." Like you could see, like him reaching, and it's my back. So then he was missed the whole second, but he came out for the third, but he was laboring in the third. And they were, they were up 4-2. And then obviously, they blew the lead, and then they got him out there trying to score the tying goal, but you could tell he was laboring. So it is a concern. If you're an Oilers fan, it couldn't have went worse last night. I mean, Skinner, the goalie, implodes. The team was trying to sit back and coast to the 4-1 lead, and that didn't work. And then one of your best players gets hurt. That's a recipe for disaster. And they were heavily favored in the series, Joel. I think that's all out the window now if Draisaitl is hurt. So there was 23 out of 24 ESPN and analysts picked the Oilers over the Canucks. Heavily, heavily favored. Obviously, everything has changed just in one game. So that's how sports go, though, Joe. That's why they play the games.
Okay.
Well, all right.
AB's in. AB is taking control right now.
Yeah,
they gotta get off the sports, or half the people leave. Half the people love it, half the people hate it.
Well, look, it's a special time of the year where you've got NHL and NBA and playoffs and all. It's fun, yeah. But we'll get back to stocks now. Don't worry. If this is your first time watching, you're wondering why we're talking sports. When we do touch on sports, we get back to stocks pretty quickly. So let's go to ARM, who reported earnings yesterday. ARM, of course. One of the stocks that has run up in this semiconductor.
I just want to interrupt you because, sorry, we just have Roblox. Roblox must have just said something on the call here.
Oh!
They just got absolutely hammered. So we like to do the breaking news here, AB. We will come to ARM. ARM is going to be the mover here. But we had Roblox earnings. Actually, we had Roblox earnings just now, and it's a miss. And they are absolutely creaming this stock here right now. Give us the details here, AB.
Yeah, so I don't have much details. The EPS came in at a loss of 43 cents, which actually beat the estimates of a loss by 53 cents by 10 cents. Estimate, and then sales came in at about 924 million, beat the 922 million estimate. So slight beats on both of those. Let's see. I see that a couple forms coming in as well. They must have said something,
That's all with the. Yeah, that's all detail. We don't have the call here yet, but this initial numbers.
Let me go to my trusty.
Let me do some sophisticated technical analysis here. It's fallen like a rock. So I look at my upper right chart here, and the lowest low I can see is 27.90. So if you've been looking to buy the October 4th low of last year, it was 27.90. So that is the only level I could give you on that one. Much better place to cover is short than initiate a long.
Okay, commentary. Yeah, go ahead if you have it. I have it too.
Okay, I was going to say, it looks like they cut their EPS forecast and guided lower. So even though the previous quarter was pretty decent and they beat on both EPS and sales estimates, that when you cut guidance, looking forward, the market is going to hammer you. So
and you're just reading commentary in this report here as well, talking about Q1 engagement exhibited an unseasonal decline. You don't want to hear that. Seasonal decline, it's like, oh, it was expected seasonality. Unseasonal decline doesn't sound great. So commentary in this report, we're just obviously just breaking. This came out at 8 o'clock at the start of the hour, so it's just breaking here. But so far, not so good for RBLX. Lucky I'm not long that one.
I missed it. Dennis, I was going to encourage you to get out there at 27.90, and I would have been off by a dime because the low is 28 even. But lot of
That's a dangerous game, Joel. The one just catching the absolute falling knife. Like on the earnings report, I'm like, okay, this is it. It's going to stop right here. Works sometimes, but that is a dangerous.
Well, you know what? Someone just asked me a question of like, what level is, what star is it? Well, if you're short, it's like a 2 or 3 star, because like, wow, what a
You
windfall.
bring it in there.
If you're trying to get long, well, I don't know. Doesn't look like it's going to hold up much longer here. We're coming down for the second time here to 28.60. Trading a lot of value. What else did they say, AB?
I mean, I'm still waiting for more color to come in here on my Benzinga Pro. But what I'm curious about is, so I don't, like a lot of my friends, I don't have kids. A lot of my friends don't have kids yet, but I talk to people that do. And like 3 years ago, it seemed like every kid was just on Roblox. That's what they wanted to do. And I feel like I've been hearing about it less and less. I see some people in the chat, Gerald, saying I had to take my credit card off my phone so daughter wouldn't buy Robux. Let me know in the chat if you guys have kids. Like, does it seem like your kids are playing less Roblox, about the same, more Roblox? Because I feel like, that's a pretty easy, you can kind of decipher what's going on with the company if everyone's saying, oh, yeah, my kids used to talk about Roblox anymore. Now they're not talking about it. Might have been a little fad. Yeah. So
I think so. I think it's a fad. My kids play Minecraft. I don't know if like other people who have kids
That's
out there. My
old,
kids
isn't
are
it?
right in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But they're right into that still. And, there's just cycles. But there's certain things that stick, Joel, that are sticky. In Minecraft's been one for a while. And then there's certain things that come out. It's like everybody's playing it, like same thing. Like think about the New York Times, with the stupid Wordle. We're all playing Wordle. We can't stop playing it. And now nobody even, there may be a couple hardcore people that play it, but, the majority of people, don't even, forgot all about it.
New York
I'm not
Times
saying they're going to forget all about Roblox, but
as well.
you got to watch. You got to be very careful investing in stocks that, are really hot and then, like are potential fads, like they got one cool thing and then, it fades. And then obviously you get something like this happen in your face. Or if you're investing in this stuff, when people stop talking about it, it's a good idea to maybe ring the register here. People who are ringing the register on Roblox here today aren't making a lot of money.
What a horrible name.
Roblox. It seems like the chat is in consensus that their kids are playing it less than they were, at least a couple years ago. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying go and invest based on your kids' behaviors, but if there's a
sometimes works.
Yeah, sometimes works. All right, let's go from Roblox to ARM real quick. Another company getting hammered after the report, and of course, ARM is one of the stocks that has been.
I'm going to ask Spencer. Hey, why don't you bring my kid in and ask him if anybody's playing Roblox? Spence. Come in here for a second.
Was he skipping school today?
No, 8:30 the bus comes. So we got him for 5. Spencer, come in the office. I want to bring you on the show here for a second.
Oh, we
want to ask you. Do any of your friends? Okay, here's Spencer.
Where's
do any of your friends play Roblox? Yes. Do a lot? Are they playing it more or less than last year? Come on, you can come right on so you can see you. More? Do you think were they? I remember you talking about Roblox last year. I don't hear you talking about it as much here. Are your friends still playing Roblox, or what is it like? You don't know. He doesn't know. Okay, no consensus.
We're neutral. Hey, we're neutral.
And you're scared to come on the show. You gotta shut the door though. So I don't want to hear all your music.
Spencer is neutral with an unchanged price target on Roblox right now. He's still doing some due diligence.
There's a lot going on out there. It's my daughter's 7th birthday. Happy birthday, Natalie. So there's a lot going on.
Oh my God! Wow.
Well,
he didn't really want to talk.
You know what Spencer's saying to himself? He's like, "Why do I want to go on that show and then get all these mean tweets?" I mean, what?
Yeah, they're tweeting at me here. You don't like Roblox, kid?
Okay, let's go back to ARM. We're having a hard time. Focus, Dennis. Focus.
ARM,
bring it back.
ARM, similarly to Roblox, actually beat on the numbers for the previous quarter. So Q1 came in, Q4, it was the earnings for Q4. EPS came in at 36 cents, beat the 30-cent estimate. Sales came in at $928 million, beat the $876 million estimate. But the company lowered guidance for the rest of 2024. And I mean, like, this is one of those companies that has had the bar set very high going into the report, of course, because AI demand and this boost for semiconductors all across the board. So the guidance, they cut the guidance, came in, and stock trading down now almost 8% here, down $8.50. So ARM getting beat up on the guidance cut despite beating earnings for the previous quarter.
Yeah. Again, it's just unreasonable expectations here. And the valuation, unlike, NVIDIA and SMCI, ARM was the other one that went, but the valuation never made any sense on this one. It's like, this isn't just a little startup. It's a company that's been around for a long time. Sure, it came out with an IPO, but this company's been around a long time. They're probably not going to grow revenue like, an SMCI or NVIDIA here. And, maybe the market was expecting that, because I tell you, this quarter wasn't that bad. This quarter, if you just took it at face value, was pretty darn good. So you just have a case of just ridiculously unreasonable investor expectations. And I mean, when you look at the PE on the thing, it made 30 cents in the quarter. I mean, you can quick do the math on that if you want, but if you go to your trusty Benzinga Pro, you don't even have to do the math. You can look at a forward PE of 75 and think, wow, this sucker's expensive.
We got Marc in the background, so I'm just going to give you, it's 5 and 6 day low. If you're looking for some targets on the downside, 96.13 was a low on May 1st or May 2nd. The day prior was 95.24. And if you want some confluence here, pre-market low, 95.25.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring Marc in. Marc Chaikin from Chaikin Analytics hanging out. Let's bring him in. Marc Chaikin, welcome to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. How are you doing this Thursday morning?
I am doing well. I'm surprised to see you here, Aaron. I would have thought ESPN had come calling.
Oh, after the draft coverage, you tuned into that for a little bit?
Yeah, it was cool.
And his bet. I mean, he turns in. He's making some pretty solid bets here, too. He's pretty solid at the sports. This might be his gig, actually. But anyways, Marc, how are you?
I'm good.
We were chatting a little bit last week. I was asking your market opinion here, and you're saying you're still overall bullish here. There's some hiccups happening here, but this market is holding up very well. So it's a good call so far, because we're very much in striking distance on the S&P of all-time highs. Are you still in the bull camp?
Very much so. This was the period in the 4-year presidential cycle in the election year when you make the low, and we formed a really nice low. We almost got a swag breadth thrust on Tuesday, but the late afternoon sell-off put the kibosh on it. But we did get a breadth thrust. There's just momentum's there, but lots of rotation, which has become painful for investors and traders. We got stopped out of a long-term position in Shopify yesterday. It concerns me that some of these customer-facing companies, whether it's Netflix or Shopify, or companies that depend on the consumer, are starting to downplay guidance big time or report negative numbers like Starbucks. So I'm watching that very closely, but I do think there are certain areas of the market where you can aggressively buy the dips.
What would turn your overall, and just take it back to the macros here for a second, because you're making a good point. We have had, the earnings season has been mixed, we'd say at best. There's been some companies that have beaten, weren't up. There's been other companies that have actually been hit pretty hard on earnings, like the Shopify yesterday. What would turn you from being, overall bullish to overall bearish? Is there something like, just price action where we start to deteriorate across the board? Or is there a macro headline that would turn you? What would make you more bearish, Marc?
There are 5 or 6 things that have to happen. As you know, bear markets end very quickly. They tend to be V-shaped bottoms, a la 2009, which was a W, and 2020, very quick 32-day bear market. Bull markets are rolling tops, and so a lot of things have to fall in place. I'd want to see a declining advanced decline line. I'm watching the New York Stock Exchange composite right now, because obviously it's more than 3,000 stocks. And I want to see that deteriorate ahead of the major cap-weighted averages. I want to see a contraction in new highs, 52-week new highs, in a serious way, more new lows than new highs. So a whole series of things have to fall into place. It's not just one, because that's just not the way bull markets end. And of course, breaking price levels that should hold. For instance, there have only been declines of more than 6% twice in the last 18 election years. So if you got a decline that big, that would be an outlier, and then you'd look for the next rally and see if they fail.
Well, Mark, well, first of all, Mark, I don't know if I've ever seen you wear a red sweater before.
It's for April. You're right. I know the dark color shows up better on the air, but I was just feeling very spring.
There's certain colors I don't wear at all. Like I'll never wear like scarlet and gray or green and white together. Certain schools, you just can't wear. But no, I just want to say you got a red sweater on. Overall, though, let's just go to the market. I mean, do you have a warm, fuzzy feeling about earnings season here? I mean, yeah, some of your big caps did okay. Apple, they rallied it off the report because of a buyback. I'm looking at like the House of Mouse. I'm looking at ARM. I'm looking at Airbnb down $14. I mean, I know these are some of the mid caps. They're not the big ones here, but I mean, when they close the book here, we still got retail earnings coming up, which is really going to give us a perspective on the consumer. I mean, was it that great?
Not really, but then look where the stock market is, or the S&P. I think there's group rotation going on. So I think what your comments about earnings season, I think, speak to group rotation, where people have been taking profits, even in some cases with good guidance, but certainly if the guidance is weak, they've been taking profits in these areas. Excuse me one second.
Yeah, people are asking APP you gave us a while ago if you want to talk about that afterwards. That's
a nice
is
one.
that right? That's up
earnings.
$10.
But what you do have, you had the VIX pick up as you made the bottom because you had some really volatile days. And I'm going to mute the audio for a second. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep. Go ahead.
clearing
Just
his
real
throat.
quick, we don't have a ton going on here.
We
Dennis,
do have
real quick.
jobless claims out at 8:30, so here in about 7 minutes, that could be a potential market mover. Even though it's not one of the big jobs reports we saw last week with this labor cost data coming in and just absolutely moving the market. So I'm not going to put it past this initial jobless claims number to be a potential catalyst to either side really this morning. So we will be tuning into that at 8:30. Other than that, what earnings do we have coming tonight? Dennis, do you have your list in front of you?
Yeah, so big ones here would be Unity's going to report. People will be watching that one. SoundHound is this $4 stock, but a lot of people watch that. Obviously, it had the huge run back when everything AI was removing, and then it sold off after that. That's going to report as well. We have Mara, obviously Bitcoin miner, going to report here. People will be watching that one too. Not a lot of big names though. Like Yelp. You got Akamai, which is probably one of the bigger ones that's going to report. Dropbox. I'm just looking through. There's Alarm, which is actually, was one of Marc's picks.
We got Marc back here.
Yeah.
So
Sorry
Marc,
about that.
pick up where you left off.
Sorry about that. So you had VIX pick up as you were making the bottom. A lot of volatile days, big advanced decline, negative ratios, then positive. When VIX picks up like that, the defensive stocks tend to do well, and that's what you're seeing. Utilities for the first time in a year are popping their head up. Consumer staples, and now healthcare is getting a bid. And so there is definitely group rotation going on. One group that I absolutely love, because it's a picks and shovels kind of play, are the construction and engineering stocks. And people have finally gotten wise to the fact that you need to cool down AI data centers. And so you've got a lot of names. Our favorite for over a year has been Fix, Comfort Systems. Anybody who's making the big, heavy units to cool down data centers. There's a stock that's it's pretty off the charts. VRT, we mentioned.
Yeah, we've talked about that one. I've been along it off and on for the last couple of months here too. It's been an unbelievable.
So they all fit into that same. I mean, people are now looking at the bigger names like Lennox, LII, and some of the bigger, more traditional air conditioning. But the contracts are going out to the Fixes and the VRTs of the world, and that's a big deal.
I want to know, Mark, I want to know who out of these companies, you might not know this, but I want to look into it. Who can cool these data centers, the quietest? Because apparently right now in certain areas, I know there's one around Alexandria, Virginia, that they built a data center, and like all the people that live around it are complaining that there's this constant humming sound. And I think the humming sound isn't coming from the actual like servers, it's coming from the fans and stuff cooling it. So I think whatever company can say, hey, we can cool your data center and do it quieter than this company will be a big winner in this space.
That's a really very perceptive thing. It could be that they just put in pickleball courts as a
You play pickleball,
as
Mark?
a perk, and that may be what they're hearing.
Well, that's the other thing. The company that comes up with a quieter pickleball, I want both. I want the company to do both. I want them to come up with a quieter pickleball and a quiet way.
Well,
to cool
how's
down the data
pickleball
center.
loud?
Oh, the noise that comes off the racket drives people in the near
Really?
environs crazy.
And people
Yeah,
like
so
Joel screaming when they get a good shot.
So when they
Yeah.
put the courts like near community or suburb, or like you got a bunch of, then a lot of times the people that live closest to the courts have been complaining about, because the sound's a lot louder than than like a tennis ball.
Hey, Mark, we're coming up to the 8:30 number, but someone asked for Marshall asked for end of week price target on the S&P, and I really don't do like weekly price targets and stuff. I guess you could look at the options market. I know you go farther out, but since Marshall dropped us 6.99 Canadian, that's probably 6.42 American. I thought I'd let you address it, and maybe Dennis too.
Well, that's someone who's probably trading the zero-dated options, and I can't encourage
agree.
that kind of gambling.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think it's tough. I
think we're within
interest.
1% of where we closed today. So that's that for.
We got
a
jobless
non-prediction.
claims coming. Mark, do you want to stay with us through the number here? We could keep Mark through the number here.
Yeah, I was a little distracted there.
Yeah. We'll keep Mark in through the number here. Let's just get some quick
another
thoughts.
name that looks really good, and it's been strong, is EME Corp. This is all in that construction engineering. This is a growth industry. If AI is a growth industry for the next 5 years, and I think it is, then these construction companies are the sort of hidden play behind the scenes.
I looked at Carrier Global because when I think of air conditioning, I think of I think of that. It looks like they did a reorg, but there's another stock that is probably off the charts on the Chaikin money flow here. So we'll see if the employment, the jobs data coming out right now is anything like the employment cost index, Mark. I know that was a couple weeks ago. That sent the market in a tizzy. Also had Meta earnings that day, but that little uptick in the unemployment rate last week, boy, that was widely applauded, right? Because that's gonna take us to perhaps a Fed rate cut. I don't know where it's pushed out now to the end of the year, but just sitting about mid-range on the session here. I'm going to go to the S&P here, and Dennis, I don't know if you're going to drop out or just go wide
I'll
here.
be just gone for a minute or two. If there's no movement, I'll be right back.
All right.
Well, there's not much
stocks
activity
are
ahead of
direct. Go
the
ahead,
number.
Mark. All right.
We're about a minute away from this number. I've got my Benzinga Pro pulled up, so should have this come across my desk almost as soon as it happens. Mark, outside of earnings right now, do you think like stocks are starting to get a little bit more comfortable with the idea that interest rates could stay where they're at for a while, or do you think there's a lot of companies out there that are still kind of really hoping for this rate cut to come? Oh, market's ripping. Hold on one sec. Hold that thought. I'm guessing the number came in light. Jobless claims come in at 231,000 versus 212,000 estimate. So more jobless claims than expected. Another sign that the labor market could potentially be weakening here, which again, I guess kind of goes hand in hand to my rate cut question, but market's fallen a little bit here now.
Yeah, I think clearly the home builder stocks are anticipating the rate cut. They may be a little ahead of the game, but because demand and supply haven't really met in the middle, these stocks keep getting bid up to new highs. I think a rate cut would certainly help the home builders, but I don't see it until the fourth quarter. unless the economy really deteriorates during the summer, and then you'll probably see a rate cut in September.
Typically, the summer is a pretty good time for the economy. People are out spending money, traveling. I mean, so if we see it start to happen in the summer, that could be a sign, that the Fed would need to come in. And all right, well, Mark, any other stocks we haven't touched on or topics you'd like to chat about before we let you get on with the rest of your Thursday?
No, that's about it. As I said, got group rotation going on. At some point, the tech stocks will be a buy again. My favorite tech is still Qualcomm, which I think is a double play in smartphones where they have an AI chip, and in computers they've got a chip that's going to compete with the Apple chips, and obviously Intel, who's asleep at the switch right now. But Qualcomm on any dips, I think, is a great opportunity. It's they've guided higher. They've told you where the growth is coming from, and I don't think it's been given its due yet. So any dips of 5 to 8% in the stock, I'm a buyer, adding to positions.
All right, well, Marc, Chaikin Analytics, thank you for hopping on Benzinga's pre-market prep this morning. As always, we will catch up with you soon.
Love it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Marc.
Thank you, Marc. All right. Well, jobs numbers moved the market a little bit, but nothing, it wasn't like the employment cost numbers we saw last week that really took the market for a spin. Dennis, did you get any trades off on that or no?
No, it's too quiet. I didn't really trade much at all on it. If you expect a huge move where he gets to start moving 20, 30 points, then there's some trade opportunities. But we moved up 5-6 points. We moved up a little bit. TLT ticked higher. IWM, probably the best move off it, was trading the red, and it's turning around. Obviously, we know small caps need lower rates. So anytime you see a little bit of a hot number, they're like, go buy small caps. So that's, what we're seeing move the most is probably the IWM.
All right, well, let's get back into our headlines for the day. We've touched on a couple earnings. We talked about two companies, Roblox and ARM, that failed to impress investors. We got the bad news out of the way. Let's get some good news in here. Let's talk about Hood. All good in the Hood. Robinhood reported earnings yesterday, and the numbers were solid. The company talked about some more than 1 million signups for its credit card too, which I don't know if you guys have seen the actual card, but it's a pretty cool card. It's like all gold. The actual numbers came in EPS of 18 cents, beat by 12 cents. So that's a pretty significant beat on EPS. Their revenue of 618 million, beat by about 63 million. Again, company announced over 1 million on gold credit card wait list. And yeah, I mean, it looks like, I think trade volume, you look at the how crypto performed in that first quarter very well, probably good for Robinhood. And so stock is trading up $1 here, about 6%.
Popped, was a lot higher. Got a pop all the way to 1978. Now, I mean, $20 has been the big level in this one. You had a high at 2015. I think that's when they announced the credit card move there. But first of all, clearing 19. I'll go a little bit closer to you. You had a couple highs right at 19. You did exceed that in the pre-market, but you get a 19 bid here in the market. Not that much between 19 and 20. They brought in a lot of assets. They brought in some retirement assets. They did the credit card. Vlad got a nice haircut. So all things going well for Robinhood.
I mean, some pull forward here maybe with, they aggressively marketing for new capital, getting the 1% match. And obviously, that tracks people. It's like, oh, I'm going to get 1% of my money and bring some money over, 100 grand over here, and we get an extra, $1,000. So, I mean, I think that helps too. Can they continue to do these promotions, continue to bring in new capital? Maybe. The crypto thing is another thing. We know Robinhood does trade and track with Bitcoin to a certain extent here. Bitcoin is struggling. It has come down significantly since the halving or whatever the hell you want to call it. I think Bitcoin eventually does bounce back, but just keep in mind there is correlation there.
Yeah, and I was kind of not surprised by Hood beating, but the fact that the market reaction, because when you looked at Coinbase's report, that the idea that, okay, they did really good numbers in Q1 was kind of already priced in, because we all can see the price of Bitcoin and know that, oh, at 70,000, Bitcoin's going to have a lot more trading activity, a lot more people buying and selling it on Robinhood or Coinbase than before. So, but because Robinhood isn't just crypto, maybe it got a little bit more leeway there, where they're like, oh, no, you didn't just report good because, Bitcoin was doing so well. So either way, Hood trading up a little bit this morning. Let's keep the earnings train ticking and go over to Airbnb, which also reported yesterday after the close. Airbnb struggling here a little bit. EPS came in at 41 cents, beat by 18 cents. Revenue of 2.14 billion, beat by 80 million here, but the company gave some near-term guidance that underwhelmed investors, basically just guiding on the lower end when it comes to EPS and revenue looking forward, hurting the stock, trading down $12 this morning.
I was in the stock from 115 to 150, and it was really good. And obviously, it's pulled back here just a little bit on this earnings report here. Get a shot at 130. I think you take a shot at 145. I feel like I'm in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes, you got this, setups like, oh, it's a nice level it's coming into. This just feels like it's in the middle of nowhere to me.
And I threw the question marks up there. I mean, I don't know why they took this to 168, Dennis. They
rallied on the initial
167.92. Wowzer. Look at that.
Have your order out there, folks. Sometimes good idea.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, if you're long, short, you could get absolutely run over. But I'm just going to move these question marks to right here, this 145 area. I see a series of lows between 142 and 145. Buyers were present back at that area. Not loving it. It's like 3-star support, but 140 looks like an area too. It's just a buy zone. I mean, if you're long, you can let the dust settle. If if you're doing the short, you got the weekly options. You want to keep an eye on the pre-market low, which falls into that range at 142.72. Couldn't quite get up to yesterday. Are we going to be in yesterday's range? Are we going to have an inside day today, Dennis, on a Thursday?
Well, you're again losing catalysts here. And I mean, this is just, we don't have the major mega caps reporting anymore. All of them have reported. We have NVIDIA coming in 2 weeks. That's going to be your next major one. It's a lot of mid caps, and a lot of these stocks just aren't market moving. A couple hundred companies report, you think, oh, it's going to be a huge day. But they're all small mid caps names. They're not S&P moving. So this is why, S&P is mixed. You get one stock going up, you get one stock going down. It's just a lot of mixed. It's a mixed market. It was a good title for the show. And I think that continues here. I don't think we're just going to roll over and die. I don't think we're going to rip higher. I think we're still in a range-bound market where you're taking your 3, 4, 5% gainers because they don't turn into 10% gainers. They turn back into giving back your 3 to 5%. So traders market until further notice.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the question now becomes is that pullback that we saw? What was the final tape on the pullback? The S&P retreated 5-6%. We never got into really bear market territory or anything. Was that the pullback people were looking for, or is there going to be a bigger one at some point here in the next couple months? Because I still think long term, things are going to be fine. I'm going to keep buying every 2 weeks when I get my paycheck, putting money into the market.
That's always a good idea.
But are we going to see still at some point a 10% correction? I mean, we mentioned it, but when you hear even people like Ryan Dietrich and stuff and Todd Gordon sounding somewhat cautious, it makes me feel it scares you a little bit. People that are typically usually always bullish, even when those people start to get a little bit cautious, that sometimes, that spooks me a little bit.
Yeah, and who's been more right than Ryan Dietrich over the last couple of years? He's called this market pretty well, so he gets cautious. I take note for sure too. You see him obviously, talking about a lot, seasonality coming into play, typically a weaker time for the markets. But again, you just have this buy the dip mentality that it's out there. There's still, the Fed path. People still think rates are going lower, and they're probably right. They're eventually going to go lower here, and it's hard to bet against stocks if the Fed all of a sudden gets behind stocks again. And the bullets that are in the chamber, we've talked about this before too. When rates were at nothing and the economy is teetering, I was like, well, what's the Fed do? You know, they do more QE or they do something else. There's always something they can do, but it's really easy to just cut rates, and that's a hell of a stimulus here. So it's hard to bet against this economy when the Fed has this many bullets in their chamber, and that's why I think longer term, I think you just stay invested here. I don't know if we're going to get a 10% correction. I don't know if there's a geopolitical, headline coming that could drive us down. I don't know if, maybe this, it's been some companies that have a warning, maybe get a bigger earnings warning, maybe NVIDIA earnings aren't great. There's a lot of ifs out there, but I just think overall, when I look at, what the Fed's, where they're at and interest rates, raising, didn't dump this economy off a cliff. Was lowering rates going to dump it off a cliff? Probably not.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe the overall market, as we've seen, doesn't necessarily need rate cuts to come down immediately or in the short term, but certain sectors definitely do. And solar is one of them that's been struggling with interest rates where they're at. Let's talk about Solar Edge real quick, trading down 8% this morning. I mean, Solar Edge reported a mixed Q1. But again, this whole industry has just kind of been down in the dumps. Now, I did read some data yesterday that the U.S. is actually lagging behind like the global average of developed countries in terms of clean energy adoption, less than 30% in the U.S. And that's kind of the benchmark that other countries are hitting. So maybe there's growth in this sector, but for right now, with interest rates where they're at, not looking great. Solar Edge reported EPS a loss of $1.90, missed the $1.57 loss estimate. Sales came in at $205 million, beat the $195 million. Looks like, let's see, did they give guidance?
Yeah, they did revenue.
Okay, so gave some, 2024 revenue guidance of 250 to 280 million. The market was looking for 305. So missed that range with their guidance range. Even if they hit the high end of it, missed the street's expectations. That's a bad sign.
It's a massive guide down.
Yeah.
I just think there's expectations are so low for this stock. At one point in time, you're going to get this like dumpster fire quarter, and maybe this is it, and they just sell it off, and then it bounces back and closes green, and they're like, what happened? I'm not going to try to call that today, but I'm not going to short this stock in the hole here because this stock has just been absolutely crushed. There's a lot of bad news here. Nobody needs lower rates more than Solar Edge. We've talked about this the last couple of years. I mean, you can talk about, higher rates hurting certain sectors. It hasn't hurt. A lot of sectors have held up well. Solar is not one of those sectors. Higher interest rates have absolutely punished this sector. And, there's been a few stocks like First Solar that have held up okay, but ENPH and SEDG have just absolutely been hammered. This is a terrible quarter, terrible numbers. Similar, reminds me of the Tesla to a certain extent, where the quarter was just terrible. And they're just like, well, they bought it back eventually or they actually just bought it up that day because there's just so much bad news already priced in here. A lot of bad news priced in here. If you're coming in and shorting Solar Edge now, I think you're late to the party.
Trading below the low of the recent move, your bottom right chart last month, 53.59. Your pre-market low is under $52 at 51.60, and I had to go all the way back, I believe, until June of 2019, and you made a low at 52.03. So once again, a better place to perhaps try and cover a short than initiate a long. But I like that area, 51.60 to $52. Let's just, I just want to check on our wild child Roblox. Now, we did give the 27.90 number. You did go a good amount below it. You went to 26.80, but back above it. So buyers starting to come in a little bit. I looked at CSIQ. That's going back to the solar. That's getting hit. Looks like down 30 cents. It was down a lot.
They had their own earnings as well.
Oh, they did? Okay.
CSIQ reported this morning. At least their due to report maybe hasn't come out yet. They were on my list. Yeah, it did. They came out 19
cents. Look at First Solar. Up 42 cents. Is that a mirage, Dennis, or is that just First Solar?
It's just separated itself. First Solar is best of breed. Remember, First Solar was all about 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It was all First Solar, and then all these other companies came in. And obviously they're all a little bit different, but it was like Solar Edge, EMPH. This is the way to play solar. First Solar is the old school play. Well, First Solar has actually become first here again. Unbelievably, it's held up really, really well. Best of breed, definitely here now. It was best of breed to start. Then for a while it was ENPH, and and obviously SEDG that took their that took over the title there. It's First Solar. It's back to First Solar. They're best of breed. They're ignoring these other solar companies now. Whatever First Solar is doing, they're doing everything right.
All right, let's keep the earnings train going. We did have another kind of a smaller, we don't talk about this stock a lot, but Duolingo, ticker DUOL, reported after the close yesterday. Everyone's favorite language learning app. EPS came in at 57 cents, beat the 27-cent estimate. So a very significant EPS beat there. Sales came in slightly above the estimates at 167 million versus 165 million. And the company raised guidance, but the stock is not looking like that's what happened. So I don't know what is going on here really, because everything I see from the report looks pretty strong, and the stock is just getting absolutely hammered. So not a great sign when your stock is trading down on seemingly good news. Someone in the chat help.
This is the story of this earnings season. It's just investor expectations way too high for so many stocks. Crushing Meta wasn't a terrible report. Hitting Microsoft back, after reported really good numbers. I mean, it's just been kind of, and again, we look at the S&P and you think, oh, it's been fine. But there has just been quiet disasters everywhere this earnings season. Palo Alto Networks probably towards the end of last earnings season kicked it off when it lost $100 on its earnings report. And obviously, Darling, and we saw Snowflake getting hit, and it hasn't gotten any love since then. And it's just been this type of earnings season where it's like they hit first and they ask questions later. And again, some of the stocks, that have really been beaten up, like Tesla, have went the other way on their earnings because maybe investor expectations just too low. But it's all about the bar. It's all about expectations. It always has been, but this quarter it seems like it's just violently about the bar. If they got the high bar, it's hard to get over. These stocks are going into earnings at all-time highs. It's hard for them to go higher. But if they're sitting here at the lows, then they just say something even okay, like Tesla did. Just talking, even the numbers were terrible, but just talking about other potential revenue opportunities, and the stock popped. So it's all about the bar.
Okay, so we hit on Duolingo. Let's see. I see some people in the chat talking about it too.
I don't know what to tell you technically on this one. I mean, I just I'm speechless on this stock.
All right, how about let's go from earnings land to rumor land. Which, I mean, it seems like the price action here is saying it's a little bit more than a rumor at this point. But HubSpot, Google is in talks to acquire HubSpot. There was another. So back on April 4th, we basically first got this report that it was in discussions. The stock popped. Now this morning, Bloomberg comes out with a headline that is basically saying Google is progressing in talks to buy HubSpot. So the language has changed a little bit, and maybe that these talks are further along. I don't think Bloomberg would be like hitting us with this follow-up report on it unless it seems like a pretty legitimate possibility. And the market is obviously saying it is a legitimate possibility because HubSpot is now trading up 8.5% this morning on the news, hitting about 640 pre-market. I mean, look, I think we'd have to see. Like, I wouldn't be chasing it up here in case this deal doesn't happen, and maybe there's going to be some antitrust stuff coming in. Who knows? Google already under fire for some of that antitrust monopoly stuff right now. So I wouldn't be chasing.
What's interesting too here, AB, is this stock actually traded down on their numbers last night. So, it reported earnings last night. And look, Joel, you can see it on the charts here. HubSpot traded down last night on the earnings. So this Bloomberg headline is completely bailing out shareholders here because the stock was actually down $25 last night.
$5.53.
So they were not liking this quarter.
Well, maybe that's why talks are progressing. It's because Google was like, "Oh, a sale? It's on discount. All right, let's go back in and buy it."
We're gonna. You know what else is interesting?
They started calling them up this morning and saying, "Oh, you guys are down." Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and this wouldn't be a small deal. I mean, Google's a huge company, so maybe for Google you can say it's a relatively small deal. But you're talking about a company with HubSpot with a market cap of $30 billion. So if you're looking at it could be a $40 billion deal. So it's not a nothing burger here. What's surprising is Google's not trading down on this rumors. They're like, no, because usually when the acquirer comes in, they usually hit that. Even on the rumors, they hit it. Not the case. So that's interesting, especially since Google has held up so well. I would have thought Google would be hit a little bit on this headline here. But HubSpot, obviously, coming out here, with the report last night, which wasn't great. The guidance wasn't great, but this headline from Bloomberg bailing out shareholders here today.
I mean, right back. I mean, well, you got the initial rumor back on April 4th. People got really excited, took it up to 693.85. And then we talk about, when there's rumors and then you don't hear anything and then it kind of fades. It came back down to the area of its where it started before the rumors came, went much lower off that earnings report. But what I think is the most interesting thing to me is that you're not getting like the reaction is a much lower high here. And I think people just like are getting totally bailed out. Anybody that chased this on the rumor, anybody that was going to this long earnings into earnings season, you're getting a nice pop here and you faded off the pre-market high. If there's a deal, there's a deal. Who knows what price it's going to be at, but a significant lower high. Look for follow through the pre-market high of 646 or could be a fade here in HubSpot.
Yeah, and that's a good point you bring up, Dennis, that typically you see the rumored acquirer being hit a little bit. Not so much in this case, and I wonder if it's because, like HubSpot, it's not like I think a lot of times you see big tech companies doing acquisitions and they're smaller startups that maybe don't make a lot of money yet or anything. HubSpot actually has a pretty decent business and has,
maybe they like it.
Brings in money. Yeah, and I think it's outside enough of Google's main business of like the search engine stuff that maybe they're not as worried about like antitrust suits or anything like that and saying, hey, if Google does make this acquisition, you're not getting like some pre-revenue company. You're getting a company that has cash flow, that's bringing in money. And again, like you said, it's not the biggest. 30 billion is a big company, but for Google, Google makes that
$2 trillion company, 30 billion, you're talking fraction of the market cap. So just so much money. Google's so powerful.
All right. Well, I think we hit basically all the big headlines this morning.
Did we miss anything?
I don't know. Let me look.
That's it. We're stopping the show early. There's nothing else to talk about. That's it. So see you guys. Just kidding.
I was
ticker time.
Yeah.
Can we do a ticker time? We haven't done ticker time in so long. I miss ticker time. Can we do a ticker time?
Let's do it. All right, guys, drop some tickers in the chat. Any stocks you want to check out. Ideally, not one we've already talked about today, just so we can get some more diversity in here, talk about some new stocks. We already talked about Hood.
Dell we didn't talk about. That was the first one from Nando. Yeah. Nando. Dell. It's come back here again. We're getting back to near all-time highs. So the dip was bought in DELL.
Oh boy,
valuation has always been attractive in this stock. You're talking about a stock that, one time the PE was down here at like 11 or 12. The PE is still down here at 17, even with the big move. It's went from 80 to 130. PE still forward, PE is 17 on this thing. Still under a market multiple here. Again, hardware never really, got a lot of love. You can compare it to HP, Q if you want. And its PE is 8. So, Dell is a premium to its direct peer being HPQ, but at the same time, Dell has got love from NVIDIA mentioned, in the NVIDIA call multiple times. It looks like, anytime you get mentioned with NVIDIA, then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's an AI play. And maybe it is. Michael Dell's been very smart. Obviously, I've always complained about it.
Out of our stock, yeah.
Took me out at the lows back when he took the company private at $11. Stock went from 40 to 11, and then he took it private. And it's like, oh, thanks. I was going to hold on to that, but and then he takes it back public. Genius moves. The guy's just money-making machine. So betting against Michael Dell has always been a mistake. Is it fully valued here? If it's an AI play, maybe not. So I think on pullbacks, I like Dell still on pullbacks.
I'll give you resistance just because it's coming up on an important area, and that important area, keep an eye on this one if you're long it. Pair of highs, let's call it 133.25 from April 5th and April 8th. That also coincides with the old-time closing high at 132.72. All-time high above that at 136.19. But this 133 area, 133.25, keep an eye on that in today's session. Someone wants to mention GL. GL, Dennis, You said it was going to 100. Did you meet by the end of the month?
I said eventually maybe the stock gets back to 100. And I mean, eventually has happened here about a month later. We're like only 10 points away from here. I have sold a piece. So I bought this multiple times. I was on the show. I talked about, why I thought, I thought they might be reaching with this short thesis. This wasn't like a little startup company. It's company that's made money for a very long time. And, I was trusting that maybe some of these allegations were a little bit stretched, that made by Fuzzy Panda, obviously. I bought the stock at 56. I bought more shares at 61. I sold some of the stock at 79. I still have half the position, and if it gets to 100, I might sell it, but I don't know. I've been holding on. I mean, this has been an unbelievable mover here. I don't even know what I'm up, like 45% in like
Crazy.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the next Fuzzy Panda report. That's what I'm
Heck
doing.
yeah, man. Heck yeah. And what was the report from yesterday? That came out.
Well, and you wonder, sometimes you see moves like this coming back, and then, the short sellers, I don't know. It's such an exceptional move that GL made. Like usually these short sell reports come out and the stocks fall like 8-10%. When they fall like 60%, I don't know why it fell so much. I just felt it was really overdone.
It's a thinner stock, doesn't
maybe,
it? I mean,
maybe they picked on it, and maybe this was one because I believe the DOJ was looking in here too. And then, the friend of Fuzzy Panda came out for the second fall, and the stock fell on that too. But it was just so, it was such a large fall for a short report. I've never seen one get hit that hard, I don't think. Usually they fall, like I said, like 5-10%. Sometimes they fall a little bit more, but it was a 60% fall. Just felt like it was way overdone. And Citron obviously was, Citron's the one that started this way back, active as short selling back, 15, 20 years ago. Andrew Luff's been on the show multiple times. Yesterday was Spruce Point. I just found it interesting. They did Boot Barn, and I found it interesting that there really wasn't much of a sell-off here. So, you got this, short seller coming in here and, initiating, at a strong sell, saying the stock can fall substantially, all kinds of, claims in there and that too. And if you look at the trading action from, yesterday here, it traded down like $3 and they bought it right back. So could these short sellers lose a little bit of their influence here as, you see, certain ones bouncing back here? Maybe. I mean, this Spruce Point really didn't move it at all. And maybe, they're not as influential as maybe they need a couple bears with guns on them. I don't know, like their model, the panda bear with the 2 guns. Maybe they need something like that to have more push, but really wasn't much investor interest in selling the stock yesterday on that Spruce Point report. Somebody's on mute.
Boot Barn, yeah, that did get a rebound. I mean, these guys, I'd love to see their trading bladder because, for that GL, they came out, then their buddies came out. I mean, I just love.
We would love. Yeah, you can't see. It's obvious. We don't know if they're covering into the report. We don't know. Maybe they're still short. Maybe they didn't cover anything. We don't know. We can only speculate that. They say they're short. They said they were still short. We don't know if they covered some. We don't know any of this stuff. And we don't even know who. That's the one thing. At least with Spruce Point, we know who it is. At least with Citron, Andrew Luff is out there. We know who he is. With this Fuzzy Panda, we don't even know anything about. Like, they're anonymous, I believe. Has anybody found out? Chat, if you know who Fuzzy Panda is, let us know. But this is like an anonymous group of short sellers here. I mean, we don't even know if they're in the North America. We don't know if they're over in Russia, Asia. We don't know anything. Like, we don't know who Fuzzy Panda even is. So, we know they've made some good calls in the past, which, has probably given them some cred on the street here. And maybe they're going to be proven correct. We don't know. Maybe GL is going to have some type of, stuff going on. We don't know. But, so far for the longs, so good. The people who bought that dip.
All right. Do we have time for one more stock to check out? Joseph Lewis wants Uber, which we did discuss yesterday.
Uber. Okay.
Again, I was on this show yesterday. We talked about it, had earnings. The earnings dip did get kind of bought here. I think if you get back to 70, I think you're letting this go. I just think competition is coming. I do think, and my opinion, full self-drive is coming. Maybe Uber is going to be a part of that, but we got competition coming for Uber and Lyft. There's competition coming from all over the place. My friend Rahit out in San Francisco said he's got the app, Uber, Lyft. He was looking for rides, Uber, Lyft, and Waymo. Waymo was $9 cheaper, the driverless car, $9 cheaper for him. It was like his ride, he said, was like 37. It was like 33. And then Waymo was like considerably cheaper at like 24, 25. I'm a driver, it's driverless car. So, I mean, that's competition coming, and the market is just discounting that to nothing. Like Uber is not far from highs. And I mean, you're paying the multiple on Uber. What you're paying for here too is super growth, which I don't think the growth is coming. I actually think this is one of the stocks that, it's PE, 4P is 52. I would be selling rips on Uber and even considering shorting rips on Uber. Again, just my opinion. I may prove to be wrong. Maybe Uber's going to get in full. Maybe they're going to have a headline come on. This could happen too. But we're going to get into driverless, and that would pop the stock. That's always a risk. Headline risk is always a risk on both sides. So there's risk in shorting that. But I think there's competition coming for this industry, and I don't feel like investing in a stock with a 52 PE if I didn't think there was substantial, upside here. And I don't think, we can just discount and say, oh yeah, well, Musk is just talking, robo-taxis are never going to happen. Waymo is doing it in San Francisco. I'm telling you, man, it's coming, and it's coming sooner than you think, these driverless cars.
I think for Uber shareholders, if you bought the dip yesterday, the 65 was a decent area of support. You did get through it yesterday. Let's see if you can just not necessarily bust above 67.20, get into the gap and go to right to 69.80. That would be the gap filling it. But maybe just get a couple days, a little consolidation, maybe a couple higher lows, and then I think you get a favorable market, and you take it up there. But if you're leading on to 63.84 low, you got a good test. I think now that close at 66.40 moves up with some significance. But let's see if you get a little consolidation here in Uber.
Well, all right, guys, we are past 9 a.m. That'll be a wrap on today's pre-market prep. Thank you, as always, to everyone who joined in. Like Joel mentioned, today is a synthetic Friday for me, so I will not be hanging out tomorrow, but don't worry, it is an excused absence. We'll be back on, I'll be back on Monday. We got a special guest on Monday as well.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yes, we got a dude who used to be in President Trump's cabinet. But
it's gonna be the first cabinet member we've had.
But not for a very long time. If that gives anyone a hint, I'll give the chat a second to throw some.
Oh, they'll know.
Yeah, with that hint, I mean that's a pretty good hint.
No, that's a huge hint.
Someone coming from the investing world, so it's not, we're not going to be on politics. Yep, Scaramucci. So Anthony Scaramucci, who's been, in the crypto space, he was of course involved with FTX. He's, ran Skybridge Capital for 20 plus years through the 2008 2009 Great Recession. So he's got a lot that we're going to talk about. He's going to give us his market outlook. Excited for that. And what about tomorrow, Joel?
Tomorrow is Jeremy Newsom is going to be joining us, and we're going to have Zunaid sitting in the hot seat. He did a great job. He's going to be sitting as for.
Look what I got here.
What?
That's Jeremy's book. We'll preview it here at the Master Yourself, Master Market. That's Jeremy's new book. And you know who did the forward for this? Do you know who did the forward in this book?
You did.
Marc Chaikin.
Yeah, none other than myself.
Oh, there you go.
I wrote the forward for Jeremy on that book.
Did he give that to you, or did you actually buy it?
Yeah, no, he did. He actually sent me, Jeremy. Jeremy's so awesome. Says, thank you for being a friend and a mentor. I got the autographed copy from the one and only Jeremy Newsom. We love you. We love you, Jeremy.
Do we have to wear a suit and tie on Monday?
No, I don't think so. Scaramucci's a pretty. I think he's a
laid back guy.
I think you guys will like him. I've talked to him before, and I was surprised because I was usually I don't know. Maybe he's just good at politics, but I was I actually really like the guy. So I'm excited to talk to him on Monday.
I am too.
All right. Well, that'll be a wrap again today, guys. Please smash the like if you haven't already. We will have live trading starting right now. And I'll see y'all on Monday. Make sure to come back tomorrow. See Dennis and Joel. Peace.